What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show preseason edition. The Blazers took on the Clippers tonight, and they ended up losing the game. The score isn't really relevant. We're going to talk about what the Blazers looked like and how things went up in Seattle, which is where this game was played. There was a lot of former NBA players there, which was cool to see. And it's fun to be able to talk about actual basketball again. Now, this is not going to be the post-game show setup we'll have for the season. Preseason, we don't introduce anything. We wait until the first game of the regular season to do all that, in case you were wondering. But anyway, Eric, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Enjoyed watching Blazer basketball. And to all those watching, welcome to Blazers Uprise. Thankful for another season here with the Blazers getting underway tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun, and if you're new to the channel, welcome to the community, and hope to see you all here all season long. If you're new, go ahead and say hi in chat, and maybe we'll say hi back if we see it as well.
Yep. We'll take your questions later on. We're going to talk about some of the themes that I outlined in my preseason preview, which I uploaded a video on earlier today. I uploaded multiple videos, and as far as the player previews go, going to really work to finish them up by the game tomorrow. Got 3 left for those, and then Wednesday we'll hop into some other uploads. But I had 10 different things I was looking for, and there's probably other things that I missed. There's a lot of things to look for in preseason, and we're going to break it all down. Man, I haven't used this setup in 5 months, and I did not remember how to use my post-game show setup before this stream went live. But so if there's any sort of hiccups or anything, there shouldn't be, because I'm not going to be doing too much. But if there's any sort of hiccups, let me know. It was an entertaining game. It was also a frustrating game. Let me preface it with this. I try not to read too much into preseason, but there's certain things that I want to see the Blazers try and do, and that's where, some positivity can come in, but also some frustration. But let's start with the positives, Eric. What was the biggest positive, do you think, from tonight in regards to how the Blazers played? Or maybe a player, or maybe, something that they did as a team, just in general? What's the biggest positive?
They played.
That they played? Is that the biggest positive?
Yeah, I didn't think the defense was too bad. I thought Jabari Walker looked good. So yeah, some of the guys looked really good. I think Dame looked healthy, which is one of the things I was looking for. I think Jerami Grant, outside of a lot of turnovers, I thought he looked good, especially on the defensive end. And in particular, his rim protection and help defense looked amazing. And that's going to be a huge key to this season if he can provide some of that we haven't had from a second rim protector other than Nurk the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think, just to see the guys out there playing. And I think Hart looked pretty good too. But yeah, I think it was just more of a case of I was just happy to see him out there. Didn't really see a lot of scheme stuff to break down, so it's not really a thing where I'm like, oh, wow, they did this and this really well. It was more just, you're happy no one gets hurt, and seems like people were healthy and running around well.
Yeah, I want to address just kind of the style of play they played with on both ends first, and then I want to get into specific players. But first, let me thank 3 member messages. We got one from Pineapples, member for 12 months. Thank you, Pineapples. He says, so much to talk about tonight, with a Blazers emoji and an Eric Brandt Blazer mask emoji. Thank you, Pineapples. Shout out Hyperprime, member for 11 months, says, welcome back to the greatest post-game channel, Blazers Uprise. Thank you, Hyperprime. And then Caleb Pendergraph, member for 12 months, says, Blazers basketball is back. Saw both promising and concerning signs this game. Let's talk about the defense. This was the only thing that legitimately frustrated me with this game, because I don't get frustrated preseason games anymore, man. But there was one thing that frustrated me.
Let me guess. It starts with SW.
SWITCHING. Yes. How'd you know, man? Okay, so here's what I don't understand. All right, this is the one thing that doesn't make sense. We'll get to positive, but this just doesn't make sense to me. You're trying to become a better defensive team. This is your opportunity to work on running different schemes, some complicated stuff. They switched basically everything the entire game. You don't have to work on switching. What happens when you switch? You end up with a big on a guard, and the guard isolates the big, and he has to try and keep up. Or you end up with a guard on a big in the paint, and that big man will post up, right? Like, you're not even working on anything. So this was a good opportunity for them to work on a couple scheme things defensively and try and institute that and get game reps. And they decided to switch everything, which made no sense to me. So that was the one thing I was actually frustrated with in regards to this game, simply because you got 5 preseason games until the regular season counts. I don't think you can go into the regular season switching everything. You don't have the defensive players for that. And even the teams that do, they don't switch everything. Nurkic was actually fine for the most part when switched onto guys like Kawhi Leonard. He had a couple good moments. Nurkic was okay. Eubanks kind of got picked apart. But it's like, I'm worried that is going to be the main defense, Eric. Especially with them bringing in Gary Payton II, and we know he can guard like 4 positions, and they probably view Hart and Nas the same way. I'm worried that they're just going to switch everything to start the season. It's probably just one preseason game, but this was your opportunity to work on some other things that are more complicated and harder to run that you need the reps for in a game. They just come out here in a preseason game and switch everything.
Yeah, thanks, Chris Brandlin, for the member message. Great to see the Blazers back in action. I agree. But yeah, as far as the switching goes, it's frustrating because we don't seem to switch when it's proper to switch. And what I mean by that is when you have the guy setting the pick being another wing that could switch on to the person really easily, we don't switch in those situations. And when it's Nurk's guy setting the pick, it's like an automatic switch. Yeah. Like, shouldn't it be opposite? Like,
yeah, you can switch similar defenders because they're similar defenders. You're not going to end up with a mismatch. But yeah, it's like we're switching Nurkic onto Kawhi and PG and John Wall.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, I thought Nurk actually did a good job of moving his feet and keeping the guys in front of him. He forced they hit a couple of tough threes at the beginning of the game, but Nurk wasn't letting them drive by him, which is a good sign. And I feel like he does normally do a good job of that. I just wish we had. This is going to be something that we continue harping on. We've harped on for years, dating back to the Stotts days. Is that our guards and wings have never done a good job of fighting through picks quickly and getting over those. So until that becomes something where we see it regularly, I think it's going to continue to be an issue. And if our defense is not at least average, near 15th or so in the league, I think that's going to be one of the key reasons why, is because we aren't fighting through those picks well enough. So until I see it actually happening and stuff, I'm not going to be happy about it. I mean, there are players and teams that you can switch a ton against. I just don't know, like, because we saw Zubac posting up like Simons and Dame and stuff for a couple times.
Yeah, Diabate posting up Sharp a couple times. Yeah.
So like that's the other part of it too, is like even if the perimeter player doesn't get by the center, if the big seals down low and we're playing a team with a better maybe center than Zubac or whatever, that's going to be a problem as well. So didn't like how many mismatches we got ourselves in, so hopefully they can clean that up a lot.
Yeah, I agree. As far as just the defense in general, it was hard to really make anything of it out of this game. The start of the preseason is always super sloppy, but with how much we switched, there was a lot of isolation from the Clippers, and then there was also possessions where they're hitting tough shots. They didn't score a ton of points, but they didn't play their key guys the second half. And here's the thing, even if they had 60 points in the first half, you're talking about a team that might be the best team in the West, right? You're talking about a true contender with the Clippers here. So it was something where I wasn't going to be too disappointed with the defense. And I thought some individual players actually had some good defensive performances, and we'll touch upon that more when we start getting into individual players. But it was never a situation where the Clippers really moved the ball well and the Blazers had to make multiple rotations or anything. Like it seemed like it was very it was a lot of one-hit offense. The Clippers settled for some shots. It wasn't a situation where the Blazers like really had to grind out a team defensive possession for the majority of the shot clock. It was generally like one defensive effort, and then it was an ISO possession, or it was a shot in general from the Clippers. So in regards to trying to gauge the defense and if it's ready for the regular season, which obviously it wasn't last year heading into the first game when Harrison Barnes made 1,000,000 threes and had 2 billion points. It's hard to gauge whether or not it's ready in a game like this. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm looking for the rest of the preseason. That's like the number one thing outside of Shaedon Sharpe that I'm looking for is how does the defense look? Can these guys play on a string, make multiple rotations, communicate, and not get completely lost and discombobulated like they did last season?
Yeah, I think one of the things, and Chauncey mentioned this, I can't remember if it was media day or after one of the practices, but he said that we just gave up a ton of open threes in preseason and at the early parts of the regular season. And I felt like that was pretty good tonight. I mean, you're always going to give up a few, especially when you're keying on certain guys. But that's one thing that I didn't think was bad tonight. But like you said, there wasn't a ton of like them swinging the ball 4 times for an open shot. So that is definitely something to look for, is how many wide open threes the other team gets, because the more they do, the less confident I'll be that we're fixing things from past wrongs or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else in regards to just the team defense that you want to talk about?
No, I mean, I think we forced a lot of tough shots. So I don't necessarily think we did a horrible job. A lot of players actually played well in ISO, I thought. But I mean, when you're playing guys like Kawhi and Paul George and stuff, they're gonna try to score over you and hit fadeaways and stuff. So you just got to force them into tough shots. I thought we did a good job of that, but overall, the team defense can't rely on those guys missing shots all game.
Yep. So, in summary, I hope next game they don't come out switching as much as they did. This is your chance to try and work on some things. That's what preseason is for. You know, if they lose by 20, it's not necessarily a bad thing if they're trying to work on things. Now, offensively, Eric, they didn't seem to run a whole lot. It didn't seem like they were in many sets. It's not that they didn't run any, but it seemed like they were pretty stagnant. And I'm just going to take a wild guess here. This is just speculation. I don't know if this is the case or not, but I've talked about multiple times like this team needs to learn how to freelance and play, you know, off each other well and move the ball where it's not necessarily a set play or a set action. It's something where they're just playing off each other in a productive way. Golden State does a really great job of this. That's why they've been so good and hard to guard in the playoffs, where guys make the right cuts and make the right reads and make the right passes and that sort of thing. But with a team with a bunch of new guys together, it's going to be hard to forge that identity unless you try it. Right? If you're out here running a bunch of sets in preseason, you're probably not going to learn how to freelance in situations. But with guys that haven't played together, they're not going to know each other well enough where it's going to look good right off the bat. You have to work at it, essentially, and there's going to be growing pains in terms of guys just learning how to play off each other out of freelance situations. And I think you saw some of that tonight where guys are just kind of standing around, standing at the top of the arc, and you had a lot of like just stagnation and no player movement. You had some really good flashes of ball movement, I thought, but overall it just seemed like the offense was discombobulated. But I almost think that's by design because Chauncey wants these guys to learn how to play off each other just out of freelance situations. That's my guess.
So what do you think is better, though? Do you think it's better to just play basically organized isolation, or like most people would call that just like street ball, rec ball, you know? Or do you think it would be better to run sets, and just like let that familiarity grow naturally while you're running your main stuff? Or do you not want to give away that much during preseason to another Western Conference team? What do you think the philosophy should be there?
I mean, if you're letting these guys freelance and try and learn how to play off each other when they have a lot of the moments they had tonight where things bog down, get stagnant, and guys are standing around, you have to use those as teaching moments, right? And you have a lot of practice time still until the start of the regular season, and it looking bad in game one isn't a bad thing because there's teaching moments that come out of that, and they're going to watch the film back at some point. So it's a situation where it's not even necessarily where it has to look good or be productive in the first game. It's where you can have some examples of where it goes wrong that you can then teach guys, okay, you should have cut here, or you should be looking for this here, or you know what I mean? Like you can grow from the struggle. So I don't know what the best way is. That's why I'm on YouTube. But I mean, I would like to see them run some actions to try and spark some ball movement and try and get players in more advantageous situations. It just seemed like they're going up against a set defense, and the Clippers' defense is good, man. Those guys fly around. Like, they looked like they were in mid-season form defensively. And the Blazers still got okay shots. Ant missed some shots. They missed some shots. So, I think part of it was it looked worse because the Clippers' defense was very solid and the Blazers were sloppy in the first preseason game. But I would like to see them have a little bit more structure and try and work out of that.
Yeah, well, to me, I think those teaching moments could happen within the set. So, like, if you're running a play and there was a perfect opportunity to cut where someone didn't, I think that's just as teachable of a moment. So I don't know if freelancing necessarily helps that much, but we do know that a big part of pretty much any team's offense is going to be pick and roll, and you have to have some isolation scoring. I just don't like starting off the first game of preseason doing that kind of stuff.
Switching and having iso ball, yeah.
Right. Because the starters, outside of, so Hart got a rebound, pushed the ball up, and drove all the way for a lay-in. And then Nurk got a post up where he kicked it across the court to Jerami Grant for a three-pointer. But outside of that, basically the whole first starters run, they were struggling to get good looks the whole time, took some bad shots. Shot selection wasn't great. Movement wasn't great. So that's kind of stuff I'm not like worried about it or anything, but that stuff definitely is going to have to improve if this team's going to want to be a playoff team this year.
Yeah, we'll see. It's just... should never expect first preseason game for guys to be on the same page. It's going to be sloppy, and there's going to be some growing pains. It's just, can they address things? And I want to see progress towards an offensive identity that's more than just iso ball, which it was in the past, right? And hopefully, here's the thing. I don't think they have as much iso talent as they had in the past. Like, CJ McCollum was more of an iso scorer than I think Anthony Simons is. I think this team is built more to play off each other. You have more playmaking and guys that, you don't want Jerami Grant isolating a bunch. You want him playing off guys, cutting, getting opportunities to attack and transition and that sort of thing. So I just want to see progress towards an offensive identity, whether that's them playing off each other more in freelance or running some more productive sets as the preseason goes on, because I think, the iso ball today made it tough against, albeit a really good defense, but that's the thing is you can iso bad defenses. That's not a problem. In the playoffs, when you have to go up against the best defenses in the league, which I think this Clippers defense will be one of the best defenses in the league, it's hard to iso defenses like that. So I think you kind of saw that a little bit tonight. I just want to see progress towards an identity on both sides of the ball, because identity on defense shouldn't be switching everything. The identity on offense shouldn't be kind of how stagnant the offense was, but the flashes are there, so that's promising.
Yeah, and at the same time, Dame and Ant combined for 7 of 25 from the field and 4 of 14 from 3. So
they got good shots.
Yeah, that's not a case where, if they just hit a couple more of those, then we probably win this game. And the offense looks a lot better because players are simply making those shots. But I'd like to see a little more movement out of it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. You want to hop into your breakdowns?
Let's do a couple of more messages here.
Member messages. Yeah. If you want to become a channel member, hit the join button below. I'm going to make a new outro at some point before the start of the regular season. You can get your name in the outro on videos and all of that. So all you have to do is become a star level member. That's starter, and then everything else above that is a star level member. Shout out to Emerson, member for 26 months. One of the longest tenured members. He says, we back. Blazer basketball. Go Blazers Uprise. Thank you, Emerson. Shout out Blazers fan Ebby with the 6-month member message. Says, glad to see the Blazers back. Thank you. Shout out Carson. What's up, Carson? With the 5-month member message. Says, Eric and Tori are the GOATs. Go Blazers. Thank you, Carson. You're also the GOAT.
Carson's still awake?
I don't know if he's still awake. He said he was going to bed a little bit earlier. Yeah. He said nice graphics with the fire emoji. And I think that was a joke because I'm not showcasing anything yet. I'm working on things for you guys for the start of the regular season, though. Shout out to Oscar, member for 9 months, says, Brandon Williams made guys in with him look worse. Guys overcame him. Okay, we're going to talk about Brandon Williams in a little bit. And we're going to talk about Shane Sharp and individual players. Yeah, let me just say Brandon Williams should not have a guaranteed two-way spot. And he was a little bit frustrating tonight. Shout out Pasty Zach, 5-month member message. Says Eric and Tori are in mid-season form. Thank you, Pasty Zach. We've still been streaming over on our second channel, so this is, a little different, but we're ready to go. Our second channel, Blazers Uprise Live, Mondays and Thursdays, link in description box below. Thank you, Pasty Zach.
Except for on game nights like tonight, because we're just doing it here.
What do you mean?
Well, like tonight, there's no show over on that channel because we're doing the.
Oh yeah, we're doing it here. We're doing it here because the other channel's been doing better than this channel. So I said, screw it, let's do the preseason post-game shows on the main channel. But yeah, during the regular season, we'll be streaming Mondays, Thursdays, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time on the second channel. We pick NBA games on those days. It's a lot of fun. So definitely go subscribe. Let's jump into your breakdown, Eric.
Okay.
Actually, let me thank Mike Aldridge for the 6-month member message before we hop into that. He says, hey, I'll get the free one end before I donate. Thank you, Mike Aldridge, for the 6-month member message. Thank you all of you guys for being channel members. Let's break down plays. I didn't even know that Eric was going to have a breakdown. Luckily,
I was able to watch the game on my TV via free league pass. It didn't have. If I would have had to stream it on my computer, I wouldn't have been able to pause or whatever.
Yeah, I hate that the local broadcasts aren't doing games, man. It's very frustrating. But I've already talked about that over on that second channel. Let's break down basketball, Eric. We finally get to break down basketball again because we didn't do this during the tanking season because it was pointless, right? Also, let me just say, I like that Seattle court, man.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like that Seattle court.
I felt like, and everything. I felt like some of the players are having trouble with the sight lines because the whole first half, like all our shots seemed like abnormally long, like off the backboard.
Dude, Ant, like one of his first threes was open and he almost banked it in. We're talking about a 40%er. Yeah, the sightlines were probably weird. I agree with that one. But breakdown time, Eric. What we got for play one?
All right, play one is defensive possession. So this is one of the... All my breakdowns tonight are going to be themes of this season that I think need to be improved if the Blazers are going to do well on both sides of the court. And this is an example of both off-ball defense and one of the problems when you try to hide Dame in the corner. And so we see this possession where Kawhi is going to break down and drive on Josh Hart. Dame is in pretty good position right now guarding Batum in the corner. But as we go to play two...
Okay, play two.
Dame is going to get caught watching the ball here. And the problem with this position is he's not really doing anything. So he's too far away from Batum to contest the shot if a good pass comes to him. And he's not going to get over to Kawhi from here, or Nurk is on Zubac, so he doesn't need to help down on Zubac. So this is a case where he needs to be more aware of where Batum is, and the fact that if Hart cuts off Kawhi, which maybe it's a little bit of Dame isn't used to playing players who can stay in front of their man without giving up a drive.
Yeah.
So that's something you have to work on if your Dame is learning this. But so Kawhi just drives in. We're still really well set up, other than Dame ball watching and turning his head from Batum. And as in the last slide, you can see Kawhi with the perfect pass right on the money from Batum, and Dame is too far away to recover in time to contest the shot.
Yep. You just got to be able to recognize the situation if you're Dame, because if Hart gets beat, Nurkic has to rotate over, and Dame has to rotate down to Zubac, and then Grant will rotate in between Batum and PG and try and get the first pass out from the paint, right? So if Nurk helps on Kawhi, Dame has to try and break up, maybe a wraparound bounce pass to Zubac or whatever. So he does have to be kind of ready to dive in there if Hart gets beat, but Hart's not beat. And Dame also just needs to be in a better position to run out to Batum. Like, that was part of it, was he just was ball watching and reacted way too late. And then part of it was he didn't set his back is to Batum, which makes it harder to turn around and run at him compared to if he was more sideways. So, and it's also just at this point, you should already be running back to Batum because you don't need a help on Nurkic's guy, and Kawhi is completely locked up by Josh Hart. So that's the thing with some of these guys, man, is the defense has been so bad for a while that it's like, as you said, they expect guys to get beat, so they don't know what to do. Oh, Josh Hart stayed in front of Kawhi? It's almost like Dame is watching in amazement.
Right.
instead of like knowing what to do. So, yeah.
And for those that didn't listen to us over the summer, this is one thing that I thought would improve Dame's defense, is not just hiding him on whoever the corner guy is. And we did that pretty much the whole game. He was guarding Batum most of the time when Batum was in, just standing in the corner. And I feel like Dame doesn't play defense well when he's just supposed to stand in the corner and watch, because he's a guy who, once his guy has the ball, he gets up in their face and seems to accept that challenge. So I want to put him more in positions. I feel like our offense should be good enough to put him in positions where he's actually on the ball a little more and not just standing there trying to catch his breath or take plays off, because I feel like this is the kind of stuff that happens when we do that.
Yep, I agree. What do you got for play number 2?
All right, play number 2 is...
Nice wall.
What?
I said nice wall.
A wall?
It's
a little off-center. All right, so we have a play where this is part of the offense that I'd like to see improve. So we have Justice Winslow is just off screen in the bottom corner, and you got Shaedon Sharpe in the game standing in the top corner. And Dame's going to drive at his man and then pass across to Hart in the second picture.
Okay.
And then those three are just going to basically pass the ball back and forth up top, while the other two just stand in the corner. And we never really have an advantage as we go to the third one.
Yep.
Hart has passed to Nurk, and then Nurk's going to try to get it to Dame, and then Dame eventually throws it back to Nurk. Hart and Winslow actually switch places in the corner, but it's kind of irrelevant to what happens. And then the final result of this play is Nurk in the final picture shooting a 20-foot jumper from the top of the key. And I just feel like these are the kind of possessions that are just wasted possessions that we need to get away from. And Sharpe can't just stand at the three-point line if his guy is guarding him that tight. He needs to cut at some point. Winslow is not a floor spacer. He shouldn't be out there. If he's in those positions, he needs to be a slasher. So it's not good that this is just stand around and watch people try to make a shot up top. Nothing's happening, and we still don't move at all. Just that kind of stuff is troubling to me. Like the freelancing isn't good there. If at any point in this, I feel like right here, it's kind of up against the shot clock, but there's still 4.5 seconds left. If Winslow cuts before Nurk Nurk shoots the ball, he's got a lay-in or a kick out to Hart in the corner. And if Sharp cut several times on the earlier pictures, I think he would have had a lob opportunity or something, but just couldn't get anything going. And this happened several times where we just kind of stood around and watched the players with the ball and didn't really do much.
Yep, in any sort of situation like this, Winslow absolutely has to cut. As you said, he's not a floor spacer. This is what I was worried about in terms of Justice Winslow's fit on a team trying to win basketball games. Just the lack of shooting makes things tough. But if Winslow cuts here, I mean, it's a situation where Batum has to guard Winslow or Hart because you have two on the ball. And Nurkic just has to make the read. If Batum slides into the paint with Winslow's cut, then you kick it out to Hart. If Batum doesn't slide into the paint with Winslow's cut, you dime up Winslow, and hopefully he finishes the reverse layup on the other side of the rim. Like, that's the read. It's a very simple read. But, I mean, this possession's a really good example. Like, Hart and Winslow change places, but as you said, it doesn't really do anything, and it's not even a screen, it seems like.
No,
like in
they
this
just
sort of
switch.
situation, like, you gotta set a screen. One of the two people have to set a screen. This is what Golden State does. Even if they think, oh, nobody's paying attention, like Nurkic, or whoever Golden State center is, Looney or whoever, has his back turned to the plate, they'll still set a screen off the ball, and, like, somebody will curl to the rim, and then they'll, like, if this is Golden State, like, Hart is screening down for Winslow. He's curling to the rim. If he doesn't get a pass, he's back screening for Sharp. He's cutting baseline. If that's not there, then maybe he turns around and cuts back up to the three-point arc to try and receive a pass. And you keep defenses honest. And for the two guys running a pick and roll or a two-man game like Dame and Nurkic are doing here, it makes it harder to guard that. If guys just stand around, it's easier to load up on these sort of actions, and that's what the Clippers did all game long, and that's why the offense looks sloppy for stretches, just because it's stagnant. So that's why you need more player movement, but not just player movement, because, yeah, Hart and Winslow move by switching places, but it's not productive. You gotta be setting off ball screens, and especially on the other side of the floor from the ball, Blazers weren't really doing much. And this goes back to the point I made about the offense. They have to learn how to freelance and do the right things off the ball, because, I mean, this is not good. Honestly, Eric, at this point, Sharp should already be cutting.
Yeah.
Maybe not already, because, like, you have to time it. Like, Hart has to throw the pass and time it with Sharp's lob. But Reggie Jackson is not looking at Sharp, and now Hart's in position to throw this pass.
Here's what Sharp could do. He could sneak behind Reggie Jackson and then basically box him out of the play, and then Hart could throw him a cross-court pass. Batum couldn't get there in time, and then Sharp's between his guy in the basket and has a wide-open lane or dunk. So that's what the beauty of cutting is, and movement off ball, and this is not it.
Yeah. So this is what, I mean, Sharp, it's his first NBA minutes. Like, I don't really blame him a whole lot. This is more just instructional, constructive stuff. Like,
right.
Sharp, here's what you do if you're that guy in the corner. You look for your defender's eyes. If you can't see your defender's eyes, they can't see you. If you can see your defender's eyes, they can see you. Even if they're not necessarily looking at you, they can see you at their peripheral vision. So they'll see if you cut. If you can't see their eyes at all, they're blind to you. So in this sort of situation, the athlete that he is, man, like, go get yourself a poster. Start off your NBA career right and just dunk over him. Because you back cut him because he wasn't paying any attention to you because he's worried about looking at Dame pass the ball. This is where Sharp could, like, get minutes if he just did this type of stuff and just capitalize on the fact that he might not be the guy, which he's always been, but his athleticism, he should be a good off-ball player if he just knows when to cut.
And I just want to be clear that this isn't a Sharp problem. This was, most of the Blazers tonight had the same problem where they just stood in the corner no matter who it was, whether it was Nas or Sharp or Winslow or Hart. They pretty much just did the same thing every time. So we're not necessarily trying to use this to pick on Sharp. This was a team problem. And whoever becomes adept at finding the holes here to get good shots and passing lanes is going to most likely earn minutes over some of these guys who aren't capable of doing that. And that is the one place, we'll talk about him more later, but Jabari Walker is already, in my mind, better than most of the players on our team at cutting and knowing when to cut and positioning and stuff like that. And if he continues to show that, well, other players are not, that could be a good sign for him earning minutes.
We're going to have a conversation about Jabari Walker and Justice Winslow in a second. All right,
Yeah.
all right. But first, you still have one more play. What's the third play, Eric?
The third play is
Let me get to it. Go ahead.
when you have multiple players who can bring the ball up the court, it is so simple to get a good shot or an advantage, and it's not complicated. Grab a rebound, go. So Hart grabs the rebound, goes, and the next slide, he actually stops. So we don't even get an advantage.
Wait, I need to load this up, right?
Okay,
that wasn't the next play. Hold on. I don't think it loaded everything. Let me try and make sure this is good to go. New system. Yeah, let me just delete all these. By the way, who's the Mariners player that got hurt? I just saw Coven in chat.
Haggerty got hurt, I think.
Okay. I mean, that's not anywhere near as bad as it seemed. I was about to worry about that, man.
I don't know if anyone else got hurt, but
hopefully not. All right, cool. This is good to go now.
All right, so Hart grabs a rebound, goes. You can see they push up the guard. In the second picture, he simply passes over to Jerami Grant. And so the Clippers did a pretty good job of getting back. Eubanks is sneaking out on the bottom. But Kawhi has to go down and guard Eubanks because no one else came to get him. Batum's obviously going to stay on Lillard. And so Simons goes to the corner, and Paul George goes with him. And so this is just really simple, right? We push the ball up, get a mismatch. Hart locates which player has the mismatch, and it's Jerami Grant guarded by Reggie Jackson. Mm-hmm. And Grant gets the ball, puts one move on him, drives, gets to the basket for a layup. And in the third slide.
Yep.
And that's what happens if you just push the ball. It doesn't even have to be. Sorry, I didn't wait for the the pause button to go off here. But just simply pushing the ball, one pass leads to a mismatch and a wide open lay in, one of the best shots or easiest shots of the night for our team, because we pushed the ball and created that mismatch. I hate when we grab the ball and slow it down and let the whole defense go and recover. And this is what teams do to us. It doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but you just get one player on the wrong guy or having to take someone he's not used to, and it can change your whole ability to take advantage of defenses on offense.
Yeah, I mean, but even if it's not Reggie Jackson on Jerami Grant, even if it's the opposing power forward, it's still a situation where other guys on the court are worried about matching up and where their guys are running to in transition. Jerami Grant had a couple really good moments in early offense in this game. And then in the half court, he had multiple drives where he drove too deep, got stuck, got caught in the air, and turned the ball over. I think he had at least four turnovers where he drove into trouble and didn't have a plan B when he was trying to go to the rim. But when he was running transition, he's quick, man. When he has a head of steam with his length and his size and his ability to drive, he's hard to guard already. And then if you also don't have your help defense set because you're still matching up in transition, Jerami Grant could thrive off that. And that is the positive of having potentially four players in the starting lineup if Josh Hart starts that can handle the ball, bring the ball up, and make the right pass, right? Because that play didn't involve Damian Lillard or Anthony Simons at all, right? How many times in the past has our two starting forwards, one's brought the ball up, kind of read the court, saw the mismatch before they, while they were crossing half court, and zipped the ball to our other forward who then drove and finished in a controlled manner around the rim. In the past, even with LaMarcus Aldridge wasn't that type of guy. When have we ever had two forwards that can do that? We haven't. That's why this team has upside on the offensive end, against good teams, in my opinion, is we've had really good offense, but it's all been on Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum for the most part, right? And if you can kind of take those guys out of things or slow those guys down, you could have a good defensive night. But with two forwards that can handle the ball and can attack and can do the things that Josh Hart and Jerami Grant do, you should be able to generate some very high-quality looks without having to just solely rely on Damian Lillard and whoever the shooting guard is, CJ McCollum, or now it's Anthony Simons. You don't have to rely on that to generate good shots all the time. So that is where I think, like good defenses can take out one or two guys or slow them down. But when you have to guard an entire team that knows how to play together, pick their spots in kind of the things that we've talked about the Blazers needing to do throughout the stream, it's a lot harder to guard. So that's playoff basketball. That's what the best teams in the league do on the offensive end in the playoffs. The Blazers haven't been that type of team pretty much ever, and that's why they've never been super serious as contenders. That plus the defense. So plays like that are promising. I think Jerami Grant should be able to thrive in early offense.
Yeah, and I see chat talking about how Nurk doesn't outlet the ball. Here's the problem. He usually only looks for Dame, and Dame's usually coming back towards Nurk instead of going down the court when he gets the ball. So, he's not in the game in this play, but so that's the problem. Dame needs to stop coming back to Nurk to receive the ball, and Nurk needs to maybe take a couple dribbles and push the ball up and then outlet to someone different, or let Dame know that he needs to start streaking and he'll get him the ball in rhythm, moving down the court already, instead of having to come back and then change your pace back to dribbling the other way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's something that they'll learn the more they get used to the way this roster is constructed. That's the type of stuff that will take time for them to understand, because it's instinctual for Dame to just come back to the ball, and it's instinctual for Nurkic to just look for Dame. That's what they've been doing for years. If you're a big man rebounding the ball, you're not looking to outlet to Mo Harkless or Al-Farouq Aminu or Zach Collins or Carmelo Anthony or Rodney Hood even. Like, those guys, a couple of them can score from the perimeter, but they're not guys that attack super well with a head of steam and can make the right pass and make the right play like Josh Hart and Jerami Grant can. So Nurkic has to get used to that. Dame has to get used to that. Especially Dame, it's less running for you, man. Like, if you're contesting a shot out of the three-point line and then you have to run all the way back to get the outlet pass and then bring it all the way up the court, a lot of times it's easier. You contest, okay, well, you just run up the court after you get the board. You can even jog up the court, space out for three. You could get open catch and shoot threes that way, which would be a good thing. And that's the thing, is he's Damian Lillard. He's going to space the floor. Teams are going to be cognizant of that, and that can open up driving lanes for guys like Jerami Grant, much like the play you showed.
And honestly, Nurk has been one of our only consistently good rebounders in previous seasons as well. So he has to try and fight off multiple guys who are still standing around him when he gets rebounds, versus other players, when they get rebounds, it's usually off a longer shot where it bounces off the rim further from the hoop. So they're already kind of moving away from it and don't necessarily have a guy around them. So it's not necessarily that Nurk is not able to make that outlet pass. I just like to see them maybe change that up a bit and hammer that home with both him and Dame not to ever come back to the ball.
Yep, I agree. Shout out Connor, $10 dono. He says, Eric and Tori been putting in that work over the summer. Fire emoji. Thank you, Connor, for the $10 dono and for being a mod. Yeah, more videos. I've dropped many more videos this offseason than I have in off seasons prior. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying them. Hopefully that'll continue on into the season. I have a couple different video ideas that I want to do over the course of the season. In previous years, it's just been post-game shows, so trying to expand as always. And a shout, Caleb Pendergraph, $2 dono, says, Return of the Brant Breakdown. Yep. I can't believe, dude, I don't know when the last time you did a breakdown was.
I know.
When I opened up the stream and I looked at what was left in your Brant's breakdown slideshow, it was a Golden State game. And I think Ant was on the court, so it was probably January, maybe? So it's legitimately been 9 months, which is crazy. Like, knocking off the rust ourselves, because it's been a minute since we've had a serious post-game show. Mm-hmm. And that's it's sad when I'm calling a preseason post-game show a serious post-game show.
Yeah.
So, anyway, let's talk individual players. Chat, who do you want us to talk about first? During the regular season, we'll do it from the best player to the worst. We'll have graphics and everything, new graphics for player cards. But in preseason, we're just going to talk about who you guys want us to talk about first. Alvaro says Greg Brown. Bailey says Ant. Janu says Grant. A bunch of people say Sharp. Sharp or Grant seems to be the two consensus. We got a Nas in there. Grant or Sharp? We already kind of talked about Grant. We can keep talking about him.
Yeah,
is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, with the turnovers, I mean, 5 is not ideal. I felt like he was going out of his way to try and like create through passing versus just going up a few of those times.
Mm-hmm.
So some of that's just learning how to play with the team. Some of that's, certain players don't like to shoot a lot if they are new to a team as well. So I think he'll learn when he needs to go up and when is not a good idea to try those passes where you said he gets stuck and doesn't really have anyone to pass to because he's cut off all his passing lanes. So I think just cleaning that up. But overall, the team was very sloppy with the ball, especially the starters. So just gotta make sure we aren't overpassing, even though we should be passing a lot. It doesn't mean you always have to pass.
Yeah. It was nice that he was 2 for 2 from 3, 4 for 4 from the free throw line. And then his defense, I thought, was good, man. Like, he had really good moments on the ball. I don't think he had a single on-ball screen that I saw, which is something that I'm telling you guys to watch out for, because the film that I've watched, like, when he was guarding stars and having to deal with pick and rolls, like, he struggled. But in isolation was good, and then he had 3 blocks. He absolutely obliterated Norman Powell's layup, and Eric, I loved that.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not a Norm fan, so I absolutely love that play. His team defense was good, made some good plays. Like, I was impressed with him defensively. Having a guy that can knock down threes, attack a little bit, knock down free throws, and play some defense is nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he had that one block, and then he controlled it, and then threw it ahead to Nas for a dunk. That was nice. Just having a forward that can do that kind of stuff is going to be a very good change from the last few years.
Yep. Anything else on Grant before we talk about the...
No, good first game from him.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, Sharp. What were your thoughts on Shaedon Sharp? We finally got to see him play more than 5 Summer League minutes. He ended up playing in 15 minutes tonight.
He didn't get hurt. Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
So I was very impressed with his ability to close out on defense and keep his guy in front of him without letting him get by him. That's another thing that the Blazers haven't had a lot of guys who can do in recent years. So when his guy got like a pass and he had to run out at him and not only stop a 3-point shot from going up, but then when they put it on the floor, not letting him get by you, I felt like there were several examples of tonight where he did that perfectly and forced his man to pass back out to someone else. And so that's really encouraging. If he can use that athleticism to stay in front of guys and just be kind of a defensive stopper, that's one way to get on the court, even if your offensive game is very raw and still needs a lot of work. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, like, even if the offense isn't coming around yet, you can use your defense with your athleticism. It doesn't matter what skill level you are. If you know how to play defense, you're going to find a way to get on the court, especially for a team that needs as much defense as possible. So hopefully that is a good sign for him, and I think it is. And then offensively, I mean, I felt like we didn't really do anything to get him any real good shots. It was hard to tell. He took some tough shots, but just the athleticism to get some of those shots up are pretty amazing. But I don't know.
What's crazy to me is he might be more NBA ready on the defensive end than he is on the offensive end.
Who would have thought that, right?
I mean, here's the thing that I didn't understand was when we drafted him, how many people did we hear say, "Oh, another guard that doesn't play defense"?
Mm-hmm.
And I tweeted that out. Shaedon responded to it. I don't even remember what he said, but it was like people were like, "Oh, well, how are we supposed to know if he could play defense or not?" I was like, exactly my point. There was so many people when the Blazers drafted Shaedon Sharp that acted like he can't play defense, acted like he couldn't play defense, and I mean, yeah, his motor in some of the film that we saw him in wasn't the best, but also he wasn't playing at a super high level. Who knows how much he cared, right? Like, physically, there's nothing to suggest that he can't become a good defensive player. He should be able to block shots. He had that monster block, like, just utilizing his athletic ability. But then also, he's light on his feet, and he moves. Like, from what I saw tonight, I have no worries about him being able to move his feet and stay in front of guys. And then he has the wingspan. Like, dude, he got down in a stance, and first possession in the game, stayed in front of Reggie Jackson, who's one of the better bench guard scorers in the league. Like, it's not like anything crazy, but given what people acted like when he got drafted, dude, I don't know that he's going to be a negative defender off the bat. There's probably a lot of, like, little things that he doesn't have down that we weren't able to see tonight, but there was a time when he was off the ball, positioned between two guys, like one was his and one was a guy where their defender helped into the paint, and he slid into the gap between both those guys, and it was a kick-out pass to a guy that wasn't his, and he closed out and contested the shot very well, like immediately closed out and rotated down. That was a positive thing as well, you know. I think the player made the shot even, but just the fact that he, like, saw that and rotated down was a positive. We need more of a sample size, but nothing physically suggests that he can't be a really good defensive player to me. It's just mentally, can he figure it out? And then, you know, like, does he have the motor and the want to be a good defensive player? Shoot. I can't say that he can't be a great defensive player long term. It's just crazy that people, like, wrote this guy off on the defensive end given his physical capabilities when we drafted him.
Yeah, I think in addition to being a good individual defender, though, it's really important that you know team defensive concepts and where to be and stuff like that, when to help, when to not help. So we haven't seen a lot of that yet, so time will tell on that part. But so far, individual one-on-one ISO situations, I don't know if there's many players on this team outside of maybe Gary Payton and Josh Hart that I would rather be on a ball guarding someone in space ISO one-on-one right now.
Yeah. So that was very positive on the offensive end, man. I mean, yeah, he was 0 for 4. He didn't force anything, though, other than maybe that one turnaround, but, like, the dude didn't touch the ball the whole time he was in there. I don't really blame him. It's not like he had a really bad moment offensively or anything. Like, he just needs to cut a little bit more. He started cutting more in the second half. I think maybe it was a little bit of, like, oh my goodness, I'm in an NBA game right now, the first half. The dude didn't even play in college. So, like, I think you have to give him a little bit of time for him to kind of settle in. And that's the case with every rookie, but especially a rookie who didn't play in college. Like, this is probably even more, like, kind of wild to him than it is to a guy like Jabari Walker, who's played March Madness and played 2 years of college, right? So, yeah, people are saying he looked timid or like a deer in the headlights and whatnot, but he didn't force anything. And that was the talk, is like, this dude's a scorer. He's going to get his shots up. He's going to force things. Like, he received the ball from Brandon Williams. Dude, I'm going to start ranting, okay? Okay, because Brandon Williams. All right, we're going to segue this into Brandon Williams. Brandon Williams had a big man on him, right? And for once, Brandon Williams passed the ball. And he passed the ball to Sharp. And Sharp, knowing that Brandon Williams had a big man on him, caught the ball and zipped it right back at him so that he could attack that mismatch. Dude, why is it Sharp, the rookie, with his whole situation and backstory and everybody talking about how he's going to be the one who's going to get shots up, doing that when the point guard is playing hero ball in the black hole the entire game?
Because he knows, well, one, I think we're seeing the difference between someone who has a guaranteed spot on the roster and someone who's still kind of fighting for his NBA career. And so I think when you have players like that, I know Brandon Williams is technically signed to a two-way, but I mean, he's trying to play for more than just this season, even if he does make the team. Like, players like that, they just tend to, like, think they have to show something scoring and isolating and stuff like that.
That's what I don't understand.
And I don't get it either, because to me it stands out much more when you see a player who's really talented and who doesn't try to do too much. So yeah, I definitely did not enjoy seeing Brandon Williams waste a bunch of possessions towards the end of this game when we had a chance to win.
Dude, I don't understand these G League and Summer League guards. They think their only way into the NBA is to be a high level scorer as a point guard. Like, he's never gonna play shooting guard. He's like 5'11". Okay, he has to be able to run an offense. People know that he has like some natural scoring ability. He showcased that last year, right? Mm-hmm. Now, it wasn't super efficient, but the problem is because he took some bad shots. So guess what? You pick your spots a little bit more. If you look a little bit more efficient, you can hit some step backs and like you can handle the ball and all that type of stuff. If you just tie that together into scoring more efficiently by picking your spots more and then just running the team like a freaking point guard, you're going to impress GMs and coaches a lot more than if you just go out here, over dribble the ball and jack up a bunch of shots. Like, there was multiple times where this dude like had an easy kick out pass to a teammate or an easy read and he just absolutely ignores it, would shoot a bad shot or would drive into the paint, like get himself in trouble. He looked like he had no idea what to do as an NBA point guard. And I don't know why these fringe NBA guards think that they have to play hero ball to make it into the league when, like, honestly, the way Brandon Williams played tonight, he better not be on a guaranteed two-way contract. Like, it better not be a situation where the Blazers are like, yep, we're going to keep him on that two-way contract, and then we're going to have one more two-way guy amongst the guys that we invited into camp. He needs to be competing for his job, too. And based on what I saw tonight, man, like, what is Brandon Williams going to be if he can't run an offense? He's never going to be an NBA caliber player. I know that. He's not that gifted of a scorer where he can just get by on his scoring because he's not going to be a positive defender. Like, he has to be able to pass the ball and make the right play, too. And he showcased tonight that, at least tonight, he couldn't do that, so...
And for those of you saying you'd rather have Dennis Smith or Chris Dunn in chat, those players do not qualify for being two-way guys, so it's not a case where we could cut Brandon Williams and bring in a veteran point guard that knows how to play a little more. So, yeah, it's not that. I mean, we could technically cut him and have two different two-way players of the young guys we have, or maybe a young guy gets cut from another team that hasn't played 4 years that we could sign. But yeah, as of right now, I don't know what they're thinking in terms of if he is going to make the team and they're just looking for one spot, or if it truly is a competition for both. But yeah, not a good start. And the thing that never makes sense to me is he's got to know that Chauncey's not looking for him to do that either, right?
Yeah.
And he's trying to make the team. So, like, why is he, like, driving in on three guys and trying to – he's, like, 5'11". He's not going to get that shot off over three Clippers, like, not even getting to the rim. Like, and he had wide open guys. It's just so frustrating, yes. Like, I almost wish – Chauncey would tell him, hey, this fourth quarter, you're not allowed to shoot the ball. I want to see you use, because like players, I think, need to be told that sometimes. It's frustrating, but like he can get to spots on the court. It's kind of like what happened with CJ. CJ did pass sometimes and was a better passer than people gave him credit for. But at times, he would just get that tunnel vision where he was always looking for his shot, and he doesn't realize how much he collapses the defense or how many open players he could pass to just by using those same skills he's trying to create a shot with, and then just think of it as a passer mindset instead of a shooter mindset. And until someone hammers that home with him, I just don't think he's going to get it. And unfortunately, I don't think he's a good enough or efficient enough scorer to make it work in the NBA. I mean, I'm sure G League wise is fine, but
here's the misconception: is like people think he played well last year. Like I saw Gray in chat said that he thought he played well for Portland last year. His stats last year, he played in 24 games. He averaged 13 points per game. Okay, cool. And 4 assists. Okay, cool. He shot 37% from the field and 29% from 3. He shot 42% from 2. true shooting percentage was 47.6%. He was wildly inefficient last year. And for a guy who like won't consistently run the offense and set up teammates and then will never be anything but a below average defensive player, that's not good. Like I don't know why he deserves a two-way spot more than anyone else that's invited to training camp. Like, I don't think he's shown anything that's like, yeah, he deserves that two-way spot over anyone else based on what he did prior to this season. Because last season, he had good moments where it's like, wow, look at his talent. But there's all these, like Antonio Blakeney. Guys, do you remember when we used to debate whether or not Antonio Blakeney should be on the team or not because of what he did in Summer League? Like, there's always guys like this that can score the ball and look impressive doing it, but when you look at everything in its totality, they're not an NBA player.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I don't want to waste too much of this postgame show on Brandon Williams, but it was frustrating watching him, man, because I don't like watching guards like that just play that way. It reminded me of Summer League.
And that was one of the evolutions of Simon's game, not just as a scorer last year, but his ability to pass the ball out of some of those drives that he normally wouldn't have passed out of. And yeah, I think just some young players just don't ever learn that. And you can go overseas and score average 30 a game and be a legend over there, but it's never going to really work here in the NBA.
Yep. Shout out Gray, who's investigates $5 donut, says last year we would have lost this game by 30, so there is that. Yeah, we probably would have. Thank you, Gray, for the $5 donut. Yeah, I mean, it's hard before they count, but on the road, going up against a Clippers team, even this season, I'm fully expecting a loss. As long as we're competitive, I'm happy. Because last year against a Clippers team, like, if our team last year played this Clippers team on the road to start the season, or Phoenix on the road to start the season, and maybe not this year, but, you know, a good team on the road to start the season, they were automatically losing by 20. And then at home, they would compete and have good moments, but they were losing by 20 on the road to any competent team. In teams that were missing guys, missing star players, they were still losing on the road. So, yeah, I guess, you know, if you want to read into this preseason game, like the fact that we kept it close enough and then took a lead in the second half is a positive. Anyway, who do you want to move on to next?
Let's talk about Ant since we just talked about him.
Okay, Ant. Yeah, I mean, he just missed shots. You know what I mean? Like, 2 for 12, 1 for 6 from the three-point line. Had no turnovers, which was good, I guess, but 9 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. He just missed shots. I don't really know. What do you think?
Yeah, so a couple of things I'd written down about Ant. In terms of missed shots, yeah, I mean, 2 for 12 is not great. Can't sugarcoat that. But, I mean, I don't think that says anything about how he's going to be this season or anything. But there was one play, the last play of the half, Ant gets the ball, and he tries to pack it on Rocco. Now, most people are going to be like, oh, he got blocked. What a terrible shot, whatever. I loved it. And here's why. Ant is going to catch bodies if he has that mindset. And yeah, he's going to drop fouls. Like Aeromancer said, he probably should have gotten a foul on that one. Don't care what the results are. If you see Ant aggressively attacking the rim like he is fully capable of but hasn't realized that in his career so far, how he can just jump out of the gym and go up and force people to either have to foul them or make an incredible timing on a block, or you're going to get posterized. You have to have that mindset. And that was the first time in Ant's career I've seen a situation where he could have pulled up for like a 12-footer. He could have laid the ball in or tried to go around Rocco. But no, he was like, no, I am packing it on this guy. And it didn't work out for him. He got blocked, whatever. Shake it off. It's going to work out more often than not if you have that mindset. And that's how a young player like him can get to the free throw line more, like he's expressed over the summer he wanted to do, is if he has that kind of mindset.
Yep. Aggressive Ant. Yeah, I agree.
And then defensively, with the switching and stuff, he got ISO'd in the first quarter alone 3 times on Kawhi. And I felt like 2 out of the 3 times he did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
One of the times Kawhi spun and got right around him. I mean, you're not going to stay in front of Kawhi every time. But the other 2 times he forced him into a tough shot, and that's all you can do when you get matched up on a great player like that.
Yeah, he didn't look like a bad defender. You know what I mean? Like, the bar isn't super high, but, I mean, I think Ant can be an okay defensive player on the ball. I think his feet are quick enough, and he's stronger now. And I think last season he still wasn't strong enough, and a lot of times guys would drive at him, and he just opened the door. You know what I mean? He just drop his foot and kind of turn and give players a driving lane. Whether that was just him doing it for no reason, or like guy driving into his chest and kind of pushing his shoulder back, opening up a driving lane. He just opened the door too much on the ball defensively. I loved seeing it because Kawhi's a strong player. I love seeing him just slide his feet and stay strong and stay solid and stay square to Kawhi, and not opening the door and just letting him get a step. Because that's the thing. If you open the door on Kawhi, if you're Ant, and let Kawhi get a step on you, like, you're not stopping him. You're a beat. He doesn't even have to get by you. If you get in that position, you're beat. You have to stay chest to chest in front of him, and you have to slide your feet and absorb the contact with your chest. And Anthony Simons did that. So that was absolutely a positive.
Yep. So yeah, not the greatest game from Ant, but yeah, I'm not worried about him.
Yep, let's just finish off with the starters. Let's talk Dame, Nurk, and then we'll talk about the starting small forward battle, all right? So Dame, in his first game back after the core surgery, he was, let me just read off his stats. 16 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. 5 for 13 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3, 3 for 4 from the free throw line. How do you think he looked?
I thought he looked fine. Yeah, obviously he missed shots too.
He still shot 38% on the night, you know what I mean?
I think he settled down, but I didn't like some of his shot selection early in this game. And you could tell he just hadn't played actual game in a while. But so yeah, I didn't like some of the shot selection, but it was unfortunate. He had one really good cut, and Nurk had an absolute dime to him for a wide open lane, but they called a foul. So I liked him playing off ball. It seemed like between him and Ant, they seemed to generate a lot of open shots, or a lot more open shots than those guys would normally get with a hand in their face. I think Dame will make more of those as the season goes on. So yeah, I was just happy that he looked good. You saw him get knocked to the floor once. He popped right up. In the last couple of years, he would have been holding his abs after that for the next few minutes. And so yeah, that was mostly what I wanted to see, is just him looking like he's recovered from that surgery.
Yep, absolutely. He was used off the ball a little bit more today. I like seeing that. He got 2, if not 3, open catch and shoot threes that he missed. He had an off the dribble 3 that was like halfway down in and out, and he shot 3 for 8 from 3. So the dude will be able to shoot and knock down shots, and with playmakers and him being utilized off the ball, like, he should be able to have a really good shooting season and maybe get higher quality threes than he's accustomed to getting, and then he can play off that and attack off that and that sort of thing. I do think when he's in there with Justice Winslow, there's multiple times, I mentioned this, we can segue this into Winslow, then we can get to Nurk. There was multiple times where I saw Winslow's defender just, like, run at Damian Lillard when Lillard was driving without a care in the world for Justice Winslow. And this is a team that knows Justice Winslow, which is why I thought it was interesting that was happening. Like, Justice Winslow played for the Clippers last year. He was involved in the trade where Rocco and Norm went to the Clippers. Of course, we got him back with Keon Johnson in their Bledsoe's expiring contract, or kind of expiring contract. These guys know that Justice Winslow's not a shooter. There was a couple times where Justice Winslow's just standing on the three-point arc and their defender just stops paying attention to him and just runs at Dame, and Dame's, like, driving into multiple defenders and has all this traffic, and the spacing was bad.
Yeah, and that's why Winslow, if he's going to be out there, has to be more situationally aware. of when to cut, when to move, and when to. He just got to get into spots where Dame can then find him and take advantage of that, because
Yeah.
you can't let a defense get away with doing what you just pointed out.
But like there is one possession where it's like Nurkic is in the middle of the paint, Dame's like on the right side of the lane, Winslow's on the left side of the court on the 3-point line, and his guy like runs into the paint to clog things up. But it's like with Dame already kind of driving the lane and Nurkic already in the paint, there was nowhere for Winslow to cut. And that's the type of stuff I'm worried about with Winslow not being a floor spacer and sharing the floor with Nurkic. If he always makes the right cuts, then he should be able to take advantage of that at times. I just think there's going to be situations where there's not necessarily a cut for Winslow to make to keep the defense honest or make them pay for loading up on something that Damian Lillard's doing, and it's going to make things harder on Damian Lillard. There's going to be times where the only option for Winslow is to spot up, and that's what I'm worried about.
Well, hopefully when they watch film in those situations, you could just have Nurk flash big to the top of the key, or the free throw line, and then Winslow cutting on the backside. There's no one on that half of the court, so Dame could just throw it back high to Nurk, and Nurk in one motion could just throw a bounce pass to a cutting Winslow for a wide open lay-in. So there are things they can do out of it. I just don't think they're in sync enough or are aware enough of those things yet.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the problem. They got to find a way to make that work.
I'm not a big fan of the idea of Dame and Nurkic always having to do specific things so that Winslow can cut because his defender doesn't have to guard him at the 3-point line. Because I don't know if it's realistic for Nurkic to always be able to go to the right spot in order to give Winslow the room to cut.
Yeah, I mean, but if the defense is just going to leave Winslow every time, that's an easy lay-in if you do it right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but that's my worries with Justice Winslow. That's why in my player preview I just talked about fit, man, and I am a little bit worried about the spacing because things got really clogged up for Dame there, especially in the second quarter, and Winslow was on the court with them.
I will say Winslow was really good defensively as well tonight, but
yeah. But I mean, that's where it's like a guy like we can segue this into Jabari, then we'll go to Nurk, then we'll go to Hart and Nas. Okay, I got a path for this here. That's where I like Jabari Walker being the backup four, is because he can space the floor and knock down threes, and he can cut, and I think he can be solid enough defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this team loves Justice Winslow. I don't know, man. Like, it's a lot easier to fit in Jabari Walker, and I feel like he can have some of the same traits. He might not be as good of a playmaker or a passer, but I don't think we need our backup four to be a playmaker. We already got a lot of playmaking on this team.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point is it like, okay, do we want the additional playmaking on top of what we already have with, like, maybe Josh Hart playing with the bench lineup? You know, who knows what the starting lineup is, but, like, if you have Josh Hart and Anthony Simons out there on the floor, and maybe Trent Watford playing backup center, do you need another playmaker on the floor? You probably need a guy that makes it easier on playmakers and just spaces the floor and will make the right cut too. So that's where it's like, I wanted to see Jabari Walker play more tonight, and then he finally gets in, and he looked good once again, Eric.
I don't think he played in the first half, right? It wasn't until the second half.
No, he didn't play until, like, the fourth quarter. He played 9 minutes, I think it was the final 9 minutes of the game, and he had 9 points, 4 for 6 from the field, hit the only 3 he took.
Yeah, man, it just jumps, because when he came in, we were really struggling again to do anything, and it just jumps out of the screen, like, how smart of a player this guy is, how his feel for the game, like, all that kind of stuff is just, like, it's off the charts. I mean, he's not the, like, most athletic guy, and he's not ever going to be, like, a crazy, like, 25 point per game scorer or something. But in terms of, like, a glue guy who you never really have to worry about doing the wrong things on the court, like, he already seems like a veteran when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, man, we have to see what the rest of the preseason looks like. Okay, I'm not going to call for him to play ahead of Justice Winslow as the backup four, but I think he would work really well. And this is why I was mad that he didn't play until the fourth quarter. Imagine his cutting out there with like the starting lineup, if he's playing next to Hart,
Mm-hmm.
Dame, Ant, Nurk, or even if it's a big lineup with Grant and Walker and Nurk 3 through 5, that's probably not the best defensively, but we had no movement with the starting lineup. Like Walker might be the best cutter on the team. Maybe it's Gary Payton II. We didn't get to see him tonight, unfortunately, but I mean, a guy that can space the floor and cut. That would work really well next to starters. I want to see how Jabari Walker looks like next to good players, because he looks good cutting and playing off guys at the end of the bench. Now he's playing up against other end of the bench guys, but I just feel like if he's on the floor with a Grant, with a Dame, with an Ant, with a Nurk, with a Josh Hart, like he's the type of guy that would function well off that. So I want to see it in preseason. I don't want them to wait until the fourth quarter to play Jabari Walker. That frustrated me.
Yeah, I'm not going to read too much into that. I think they're just trying different things. I think right now they feel like Winslow's ahead of him, and so they're going to try. They're obviously playing their starters tonight, or their main rotation guys as much as possible. Tomorrow night might be a completely different story because the back-to-back. I doubt the starters will play much tomorrow night, if at all. We did hear Chauncey say before the game that I think it was all but one preseason game he was planning on playing the starters decent amount of minutes and things like that. So, I mean, who knows if maybe that's a consistent thing that we don't see Walker in the first halves or whatever. But I agree with you. I just want to see this guy play, and it happened all summer league. I mean, it happened in college. When that guy's on the court, like good things happen, and it's not a coincidence. It's preparation and IQ and stuff like that. And even the few little training camp footages, little plays they show on the Trailblazers page, like it's always like someone makes a great pass and who it is? Look, it's Jabari Walker because he cut. And yeah, I want to see more of him, but I'm not going to get too excited until he actually gets that opportunity, because I think if he does, he'll run with it. But I just don't know if that's going to come at least early on in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it. I can be frustrated about something and also understand it. Like, it's the main rotation, and I think Keon was playing like Gary Payton II's role in the rotation tonight. But
he's not going to be our sixth man.
No, I don't think so. I think you'll see Gary. I think that was Chauncey tipping his hand, like he plans on subbing Gary Payton II in early in games for defensive purposes, and then obviously staggering the guards, which is what I predicted. So I just, like, if they don't play the starters next game and Jabari Walker plays a bunch, cool. I want to see him play with Damian Lillard a little bit. I want to see him play with Anthony Simons a little bit. So I don't know if we're going to get that this preseason, unfortunately. But we'll wait and see. That's something I'm hoping for, because I just want to see how he looks like next to those guys. Let's talk about Nurk. Nurk looked solid tonight. 13 points, 9 rebounds, and assists, 3 turnovers, though. 5 for 9 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, so he's 5 for 7 from 2. He was 3 for 4 from the free throw line. What do you think about Nurkic?
He shouldn't be forcing threes. That's going to drive me a little crazy. I'm not going to say he shouldn't shoot threes. If he's open and it's within the framework of an offense, I'm fine with it. But the second three he took, where he had a guy like right in his face, that's not how you should play if you want to have more of the structure of an offense built around you. And I feel like he shouldn't be shooting those kind of threes unless he's wide open. And even the corner one, he's wide open, but he drifted back from the paint all the way back to the corner just so he could shoot that three. He doesn't necessarily have to do things like that to force three-pointers. But other than that, I liked his game. I felt like he was aggressive when he needed to be. I didn't think that charge call was legit. I thought he had a jump stop on that. So one of his turnovers was actually a made basket in my mind. But overall, I thought he played pretty solid, and even getting switched onto tough players to guard like Kawhi and Paul George, I felt like he did a good job moving his feet.
Yeah, look solid defensively. There is a lineup. I'm trying to find my tweet on it. There was a
Oh yeah,
lineup at a time where, yeah, it was Dame, Keon, Nas, Winslow, and Nurkic. And the spacing wasn't good, man. It was almost like Nurkic stepped out to the three-point line to try and be a floor spacer because there was no room on the interior. Like, we'll talk about Nas in a second, but you have four questionable shooters at best in that lineup in Dame, and that's kind of worrisome. But what were you gonna say?
Aeromancer points out that one of them was from the Brandt's breakdown where he shot that long two just inside the 3-point line at the end of the clock because there was no movement. So really 5 of 6 on 2-pointers.
Yeah, if you don't count that him having to try and bail out the offense at the end of the shot clock. Yeah, I mean, he finished well. Everybody complains about his finishing last year, despite him setting a career high. I dropped a player preview on him earlier this morning. You can watch it after the stream if you want. But one of the points I made in it was people complained more than ever about his finishing ability or a perceived lack of ability. But he set a career high from 56%. His next closest was like 52%. So he improved. Without Damian Lillard for a good part of the season, he finished well last year. And people acted like he didn't. He had a couple impressive finishes in this game. Little little baby Euro step, like reverse finish. A finish where he went strong to the rim with his right hand. A play where he caught the ball on the roll and just pump faked and then took a dribble and dunked it. Like, he looked good finishing the ball inside.
Mm-hmm.
He gets too much heat for that. I hope people will give him a fair chance to prove to them that he can finish, because his finishing has improved.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's talk about the starting lineup, okay? You want to talk about Hart or Nas first?
We'll start about Hart because he started.
Okay, Hart. 25 minutes, 5 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 for 3 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3. I feel like out of all the guys on this team, he wasn't aggressive enough offensively, which I don't mind. Like, he was looking for teammates and trying to play that role player role, and, he has Dame, Ant, Grant, Nurk around him in that starting lineup. There was a couple times where I felt like he could have picked his spots. He had the first bucket, just a coast-to-coast drive. I mean, he looked good in the starting lineup. What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player. I mean, right now it's hard to say that. I mean, it's clear he's a better player than Nas, but that's the problem. Is, do you need that in the starting lineup or with the bench unit or a mixture of both? But I mean, he's about as solid and consistent and steady of a player as you can find in the NBA, and he does everything well. Rebounds well for his size, like you pointed out with the 10 rebounds. He passes the ball well. I felt like the times when they ran the offense through him and it ran Dame and Ant off ball, I felt like those possessions generated a little better offense than some of the possessions where Dame or Ant were running it. So if that's the case and he can be that guy who set it up, and we have Dame, Ant, and Grant all, capable of moving off ball and getting good shots, that offense is going to be really special. Just don't know if it's the best thing for the team overall to have him in the starting lineup, but as of right now, I don't think it's close. And for those that missed it, Chauncey, he said it had nothing to do with Hart earning the job yet. He said he was going to give all three of them, meaning Hart, Nas, and Winslow, a chance to start during the preseason.
Yep, it's kind of like having a third point guard out there in the starting lineup, which is nice. Offensively, offensively, I think him being the starter is the best. Like, you can stagger him with the bench lineup. I think if he starts, you sub Ant out early, and then one of Grant or Hart out early, and then you sub him back in with the bench lineup. Right? And you work things that way, so that you keep 2 of Dame, Ant, Hart, Grant in the game if Hart's the starter. And I think that's possible. Offensively, just having his playmaking ability, his passing ability, and then, I think he's a little bit more proven of a shooter than Nasir Little. He's a little bit more reliable of a shooter than Nasir Little. I think that's the best for the starting lineup. It's just, can he be that lockdown defensive guy? He had good moments defending on the ball. One of them was in your breakdowns where he walled off Kawhi Leonard and Dame fell asleep off the ball and gave up a 3 to Nick Batum. But I just don't know if he can be that guy where you put him up against LeBron for a long stretch, KD or whoever, some of the bigger, more talented forwards in the league. And I don't know if he can truly be that high-level defender where Nas, I don't know if Nas can be that either, but I feel like Nas has a little bit more upside as an on-ball defender due to his length and athleticism than Josh Hart does. But speaking of Nas did not look good today.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a pretty brutal game for Nas. Hopefully, this was just some rust from, he had the offseason surgery as well. But I mean, his first shot of the game, he tries like a step back 3 with a defender in his face, and it wasn't even close.
I don't even know if he hit rim.
And then later on, he got a corner 3, which he left way short. And then he had a drive where he pulled up and airballed from about 4 or 5 feet. Hopefully, this is just.
Well, you want? Can I preface it?
Go
people
ahead.
Think I'm too critical of him. This is his first game back off a core injury. Okay, so knocking off that rust is understandable. So I'm not going to read into this meaning he's not ready to be the starting 3 or anything. Okay, I'm not going to read into anything negative with this. All right, just like earlier this offseason, I didn't read into it super positively when we heard good things about him that Damian Lillard said behind the scenes, right? For me, it's always been, we just got to wait and see. And one game was not going to make or break Nasir Little, especially first game back off a core injury, right? So I don't have anything negative long-term. It hasn't changed my mind on him. I've been in wait and see mode the whole time. It seems like a lot of Blazer fans got maybe a little too overexcited. We gotta wait and see until he consistently proves that he can be a high level player, because he has all these great flashes, Eric. He has all these great flashes that suggest he could be a really good NBA player, but it's never been consistent. And sometimes there's guys in the league who have flashes where it's oh my goodness, if they could just be consistent, they would be so freaking good, but they can just never find that level of consistency. And I'm not saying he can't, I just have to see it out of him, and I haven't yet up until this point. And I made that point this past offseason. Some people thought, acted like I was crazy for it, but negatively and positively, I'm just waiting and seeing on Nasir Little. That's where I'm at with him. This doesn't mean anything. First game back from a core injury. We're going to have to wait and see if he can prove himself to be a high-level starter. He's certainly going to get the chance, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, unfortunately for him, every time he has started to show a little bit of consistency and put together back-to-back good games or whatever, there always seems to be some sort of nagging injury. So hopefully he avoids that this year and can maybe get a little more comfortable. I'm a little worried that maybe he was not in the right mindset because he wasn't named the starter. And I felt like he had a little bit bad body language. Now, some of that might be, like you said, I'm not going to read too much into it because of the injury. But in the future, if he doesn't win that starting 3 spot, I don't want to lose him, or think that he's going to pout or whatever. And once again, I'm not saying that's what he did, but hopefully that won't be the case if he's coming off the bench. But I feel like as good as Hart is, Nas probably fits with the current starting lineup with the other 4 a little better than he does with the bench. So do you sacrifice a little bit of your starting lineup to have a better fit for Nas, or do you sacrifice him not fitting as much with the bench, especially if you're going to play Winslow at the 4 for Hart to start and play more minutes? So
I think you stagger.
Yeah.
I think you stagger things, because that's the thing. Just because you start somebody doesn't mean that they have to be the only guy that plays in that role with the rest of the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
You can mix and match things. I still think if Sharp is ready to play minutes right away, which, this game didn't really tell us if he is or if he isn't, like he looked good defensively, offensively didn't do anything, then it's easier if Nas plays the backup 4 because it clears more minutes at the point guard, shooting guard, small forward position. Mm-hmm. That could be the best for the team long term. But, that would remove Justice Winslow from the rotation, so do they do that? They probably don't. I think it's a situation where you can stagger. I don't know, man. Like, if Nas can't consistently shoot or make the right cut, which there's times tonight where he had cuts available to him and he didn't take it, then I don't like his fit in the starting lineup. He either has to consistently shoot or consistently make the right cut. And I don't know if he would do either yet in the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just one game. We're not going to base anything on that because there was obviously, I just think something was up with him, whether that be the injury or just him being nervous or what. But yeah, I just don't think he looked 100% today.
I'm also worried that maybe he added a little bit too much weight because he looks absolutely he looks buff.
Yep. Yeah.
But that might not be a good thing, man. That might have slowed him down a little bit. Like, he I don't know. Normally I don't really talk about players' bodies a ton, but he looks like less chiseled than he did last year. I don't know why. Like, it's just kind of weird. Maybe him wearing number 10 is throwing me off in my perception of him.
Yeah, usually, I think
maybe. But I mean, that's the thing is, like, he lost weight going into last season. I thought he looked quicker. And it seems like he's kind of back to his body that he had a couple years ago. And, this is where I'm going to chalk it up to the core injury and whatnot. But there was multiple times where he was defending off the ball and got beat. Just got beat off the dribble, which wasn't really happening last season. So I assume that's, he's rusty physically. But if that becomes a thing, then I don't know if he's a guy that helps the team. If he doesn't, start to do other things on offense more consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's possible he's not 100% yet, so I'm not going to...
Yeah. No, that's what I'm tying it up to. It's just a little... I don't know if worrying's the right word. It's just... Hopefully that's not a thing that happens this year, is where he gets beat off the dribble like he did tonight. Hopefully it's just the injury.
Here's the thing, though. If you get your wish and he's the backup 4, maybe that extra weight is a little better than if he's trying to play the starting 3.
That's what I'm saying too, is if he's a starting 3, he has to be the lockdown on-ball defender. We need a good on-ball defender in the starting 3 role. So he can't get beat by guys like Amir Coffey like he did today off the dribble. So that's the thing where the weight, if he's trying to be the starting 3, hopefully it's not too much weight where he can't keep up with guys that last year he was keeping up with.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Anyway, who else do we have to talk about that we haven't already? That you want to touch on? Greg Brown III, man. He had a nice drive. He still, to me, just seems like an athlete more than a basketball player. There was a play where he had to dribble the ball up the court and looked like he almost dribbled it off his knee out of bounds. And then he airballs a mid-range jumper by 3 feet. I don't know, man. It's just one game, so I'm not going to read too much into it. 7 minutes, but I don't know how I feel about his long-term upside.
Yeah, on a fully healthy team, I'm pretty sure he's going to be the inactive player since we can only suit 13. Preseason doesn't have those rules, but yeah, I'm not necessarily losing hope on him because when we drafted him, we knew it was going to be a project, and I like his attitude. I like he gives up that positive energy vibe, and I like that. So I don't think it's horrible to have at least one guy like that on the end of your bench. So I'm
just wondering what the optimistic vision of him is.
Yeah. Probably I don't know. He's probably one of those guys who would be better on a fast tempo team that gets out and runs a lot more, and he doesn't have to handle the ball on those fast breaks like he's catching lobs and stuff. But yeah, yeah, that's a good comparison. Like a bigger Derek Jones Jr. type.
Yeah,
But he
he
doesn't
needs to
have
make
the
some serious
defense.
improvement defensively to become
Yeah,
that type. That's what it's
yeah,
probably going to come down to is the defensive end. But
yeah,
like he got absolutely shook out of his shoes by a jab step today.
yeah. And then gives up an open three. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't mind him being on the end of the roster still, and yeah, I'm not gonna. I. It's funny because we there's players like Zach Collins, right? And literally every single person agreed that Zach was a project and was going to need a year or two of development before he was ready for the NBA coming into that draft. And then he like shows a little bit more than people expected his rookie year and was actually competent in his minutes on the court. Second year, he grows a little bit, becomes even more competent to the point where he's playing key minutes in the Western Conference Finals, the second round, things like that. And we felt good enough in him to make him the starting power forward the next year in his third season. He gets hurt outside of the bubble, basically never plays for the Blazers again. And then everyone's saying, like, oh, he sucks or whatever, right? But, like, we never even got to see him in his third and fourth years, like, when he was supposed to actually be on the court. So I think as more and more players are good right when they come out of college or not even playing in college, whether it's the G League or overseas or whatever, and they come in and make an impact, I think we sometimes forget that some of these players do need time to develop. And I mean, I get what you're saying too, that you don't see a lot of even potential, like what does he do well, even in a perfect scenario. But like, I just don't like killing players that I know beforehand aren't going to be anything for their first couple of years when I knew that coming into the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just I said this on a recent stream too. I think it's just the lack of a bankable skill for him. Like guys with like Simons, he didn't play, but you know he could shoot and had like legitimate shot creation potential. Like I don't have confidence in Greg Brown's shot creation or his shooting potential or him necessarily becoming a Derrick Jones Jr. type of defender. Like he has his athleticism, but that's not a bankable skill. Like that's not shooting. That's not being able to create shots for others. That's not being able to create shots for yourself. That's not being able to defend on the ball, defend off the ball, whatever. It's just athleticism. Like you can find phenomenal athletes out there that don't have bankable skills either. You know what I mean? Like you gotta have a bankable skill in the NBA, and I just don't know what that bankable skill is gonna become. It has to become something. It has to become either his shooting or his ability to do stuff off the dribble, which I mean I just don't think he'll have the ball handling ability to do that. He still looks rough even handling the ball in the straight line in the open court. The only thing that I could see is him becoming that defender.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's gonna have to be. So that's what I'm looking for, and that's like he's said that he's put in work, like studying defense and that sort of thing, which is promising. But that's what it's gonna have to be, in my opinion, because I don't have confidence in the other bankable skills.
Well, the other thing is, like I said, Walker comes in and it jumps off the page how ready he is to play,
Yeah.
and so
Who's
yeah,
older?
it's,
I'm gonna have to look up
think
Greg.
Walker just turned 20, right?
Yeah, Greg Brown 3 is 21 years old, just barely.
Okay.
And Jabari
So
Walker is
he just turned 20. So.
20. Greg Brown's like a year older than Jabari Walker.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look like that. Jabari Walker looks like a vet to me, and Greg Brown looks like a rookie still. So, I mean, he's just 7
I
minutes.
mean, you get that sometimes.
You know, yeah, it's, yeah. But that's where it's like, they subbed in Greg Brown before Jabari Walker, man. I like...
Well, I mean, they asked Dame about that pregame today, like how he would compare to Sharp at 19, and Dame was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, he would destroy me at this age."
Yeah.
And he's also said they probably get into a fight because he was competitive or whatever. But yeah, so like I don't know. I don't know if you can necessarily base it off age, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is like I don't know, certain players like 21 isn't very old, but some players are 2021, and it seems like they're like a savvy vet already.
Yeah. Shout out Maddie, $5 donor says, "Yo guys, I'm going to a Q&A with Shaedon and Jabari tomorrow. Any ideas for something I should ask either of them? Thanks." With the peace sign emoji. I'm going to leave that up to chat, okay? Chat, give Maddie your best Q&A questions for Shaedon Sharpe and or Jabari Walker. Maddie, you can pick the best one. Thank you for the $5 dono. Because there's nothing really off the top of my head. I mean, obviously the cookie cutter thing is just like how was your experience playing in your first NBA game?
I was gonna say, I mean, it's kind of weird because it was Seattle, but like along those lines, like how was your first road trip to a game and just the whole experience of going up to another arena and playing in an NBA game?
Yeah. Or what do you think you need to work on the most to get on the floor this year as a rookie? That sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, cookie cutters. But Caleb Wilson has a great question. No, I'm just kidding. Don't ask that. Please don't ask that. Or if you do, don't say it's from the Blazers Uprise community. Yeah, so chat, you can give him your questions. Thank you, Maddie, for the dono. Keon, we haven't talked about, Eric?
Yeah, Keon, it's kind of the tale of two halves for him. I thought he was pretty bad his stint in the first half, on both ends of the court, and then second half I felt like he was actually pretty good. So yeah, not great, but I mean he was, if you balance out the two halves, it was solid.
He looked just under control. He looked like a veteran almost out there, and he's still extremely young, but just like kind of controlled the pace, made the right cut, kind of picked his spots decently, went to attack, hit a three, was a plus 12 if that means anything to you. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't super focused on Keon, to be honest with you. So I was focused on other guys on the court with them and how they were looking and where they were, you know. I wasn't super focused on Keon, so I don't really have anything else to say. Eubanks, unless do you have anything else on Keon?
Well, not on Keon, but Justin says, "I'm about to donate you $40. You can get a legit mic," which one of our mics isn't sounding good. Can anyone else verify that it's not? Because
both of our mics suck. Give us $80.
$40 won't get you a better mic than either of us have. So
yeah. So legit mic. Yeah, I think it's a troll. I don't think he's donating $40 because both of our mics are fine. So I don't know. I don't know who he's talking about. My mic is $130, man. So hopefully it's not mine.
I have a heater as my mic.
Oh yeah, you got that space heater. Eubanks, Eric, I still am not comfortable with him as the backup center. I mean,
Agreed.
I don't know. Especially if we're going to switch everything. Or if we're going to switch a lot. I don't like him out on guards, man. I don't know. He legitimately didn't shoot a shot from the field, was 3 for 6 from the free throw line, 3 points, 3 rebounds in 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any takeaways? I don't really have much to say. He was just like out there and just very meh, and got stuck with the ball a couple times.
I think against some teams he's going to be fine. I hope it's matchup based. Against that Clippers unit where they were playing like Batum as the center with Kawhi and Paul George and stuff, like not so much in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know. I think we could probably get away with some minutes with him playing the backup five. I hope Trendon takes that job, and tonight was only because he was injured. Even if Watford's a little small for a center, I still think it's a better option, most likely. And then, but it still comes back to Nurk goes down at some point in the season, knock on wood that he doesn't. But like, what are we gonna do if that happens?
We're gonna
Like, I
start
don't.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Yeah, I don't know. Caleb, I'm sorry, Caleb, but that's a terrible take.
Yeah, I don't think that's a serious take.
No, he's serious. He hates Nurk. He hates him.
Oh,
He
that's the
absolutely
Nurk
hates
hater.
him. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, that's a real bad take. Yeah, if Trendon's the backup center, it makes a little bit more sense to switch. Maybe that's the plan. Like, I like Trendon a little bit more than Eubanks switched out onto guards, but still, like, Trendon was solid defensively last year. I still don't have confidence in him guarding guards at the NBA level. It's hard for big men like him to guard guards, man. He's more of like a team guy, a team defender, but he's undersized for the 5 as a rim protector. It's just so iffy. And I don't know. It's just iffy, man.
Yep. I mean, hopefully we don't have to talk about him too much this year.
Hopefully not. Anyway, that's pretty much everybody. I don't really have anything else to say, man.
Let's see. Do we? You don't have anything to say about Rodner, Sar?
Sar's big, and we need a big body. So
Yeah, we
give
do.
me more Wingardium Leviosa. Anyway,
Okay.
I want to see Rodon play a little bit more. Rodon seems like he could be intriguing, just 3-and-D guy. So, like, if the starters don't play next game, I would like to see Rodon get some serious run just to see what he looks like. Nobody else really intrigues me in terms of the camp invite guys, like K-Cock, Uwundu, Isaiah Miller. Like, I don't have any interest in any of those guys being on a two-way spot. So, like, right now, I think it should be 3 guys for 2 two-way spots, and that's Brandon Williams, Jared Rodon, and Olivia. How do you say his first name? Is it
Is it just Olivier?
I think it's Olivier, and the commentator said Oliver, which I don't think is right, man. Olivier Sarr, I think is how you say his name. That's the 3 guys it comes down to. I think Sarr needs to be on a two-way because we need the big man depth. And then it comes down to Brandon Williams versus Jared Rodon. So I want to see what Jared Rodon has. See if he looks better than Brandon Williams. But I think it's a situation where it's probably Williams and Sarr at this point is the two-way spots. I would be surprised if it's someone else.
Roden had that bad stretch today where he missed a 3, which is fine. You're going to miss some threes, but then he cut nicely and got the ball back and blew the layup. Would have cut it to 2 with like a minute and a half left. And then the next time down the floor, he turned the ball over. But yeah, so not much you can read into just a couple plays randomly in a game, but hopefully he plays a little better next time.
Yep, agreed. We'll take questions for the next 10 minutes, then we'll wrap up the stream. We'll have another post-game stream tomorrow. We're doing the post-game streams for preseason right here on the main channel. So give us your questions in the comment section below, or if you have a hot take, you can also put that down below, just as long as it's better than the take that Eubanks is better than Nurkic.
We should talk about
that's a bad one.
Craig Randall. I mean, he played for us a few games last year, right?
In Summer League? Or was he, I thought he was Summer League, or was he preseason too last year?
No, I thought when we had all those 10-day contracts, didn't we call him up one time?
No, because it was...
I don't remember. Yeah.
I don't think it was him. I think it was Brandon Williams. It was...
Maybe it was just
Cumberland.
somebody.
It was Perry, and it was...
But then we had
else.
another stretch later on.
McGriff. That was the 4 guys on the 10 days.
But then later in the season, we brought some of them back, and we brought a couple other guys, but I might be wrong.
No, I think he was just Summer League. Because we had him in Summer League, remember?
Yeah.
I don't know. Chat. Remind me if I'm wrong. I think he was just Summer League. But he popped off, man. Hey, guys, it could be a lot worse. We could be the Los Angeles Lakers, who lost by 30 at home to the Sacramento Kings tonight. And LeBron, in the first half, he played like the majority of the first half. Or maybe a little bit of the second as well. How many minutes did he play? LeBron played 16 minutes, so I assume, that was just in the first half. But 16 minutes, LeBron didn't score. Or he had 4 free throws. He didn't score from the field. He was 0 for 7. Apparently they got booed on their home court. Keegan Murray looked
Okay.
good.
I don't think Kurt Randall played for us last year.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure he didn't. It was just summer league. So, but the Lakers lost by 30 at home to the Kings tonight, and then the Suns lost by double digits at home to the Adelaide 36ers, which is an NBL team who Greg Randall popped off. And you know who else popped off? Robert Franks popped off, who's from Vancouver. I played against him in high school. I actually had a decent game against him in high school. He was, so... Shut up, Reddit. Randall, 35 points, was 9 for 17 from 3. And then Robert Franks, 32 points, was 6 for 10 from 3. And then Antonius Cleveland, which is another name we know, Eric, because I think he was on our summer league team for a minute. He was 3 for 4 from 3, 22 points for him. And then Kai Soto off the bench, 11 points, 3 for 6 for the field, 1 for 2 from 3, made all 4 of his free throws. So Kai Soto putting up numbers against the Phoenix Suns. If you know why that's funny, then shout out to you. So we kind of lost to an NBL team today.
And then you got Devin Booker putting out the LeBron press conference picture of when he's talking about how he doesn't care because he's rich and has a great life, and you all have to go back to your crappy homes. Yeah. Things are not looking good in Phoenix land right now.
In Phoenix, for the Lakers, like there's some teams that have some messiness, man. Like I'm not worried about one preseason game. The West is going to be tough, but there are teams with worse issues than us right now. And I'm acting like there's issues from this game. There's really not. It was a competitive game, but I saw some people be like, "Oh, this is very disappointing," and people overreacting to one preseason game. Imagine if we lost to the 36ers, Eric. Imagine the takes.
Well, I mean, we have our chance on Thursday night when we play whatever that team is. So before I talk crap, I'm going to just wait till we win that game first. I hope we don't play
our starters that game. I hope we just play the end of the bench guys, and then if we lose, it's okay. Anyway, questions in chat, let us know. If you have anything you want to ask us, we'll answer questions and we'll wrap up the stream. Do another are you guys taking the Grizzlies or the Timberwolves in a 7-game series? Grizzlies. I don't know. That's a toss-up, actually. What were you saying?
I can't make that determination before actually watching them play. But I was going to say, I think it was Shams today had an article about how on the eve of their first preseason game last night, the Lakers were still contemplating what to do with Westbrook.
Which is embarrassing. How do you not know what you want to do with Westbrook on the first day of the freaking preseason?
It's tough because I would not want to be Pelinka. I mean, it's his own fault for putting him in this mess. But do you absolutely destroy the future for like 2 role players just to get off of Westbrook's contract? Or do you, and like you pretty much have to do that because you have LeBron and he's old?
Yeah, either do that or approach LeBron after this season goes terribly for them, because like I think they're a play-in team. Approach LeBron in midseason and be like, "Hey man, you sure you don't want to trade?" I don't know what the deal, because didn't he sign an extension?
He can't be traded this season.
The entire season?
Yeah, because his extension date's after the trade.
Why did he sign oh, God.
So it couldn't be traded by the Lakers.
The Lakers should still trade him to the Blazers. How does that feel, Lakers fans? It's flip the roles, right? It's always Laker fans saying, you guys should trade Dame, even when we can't trade him, which we can't right now. Yeah, LeBron ain't going anywhere. I mean, they're just in a mess. And we said, the Westbrook trade was overrated when it happened. Big name star, big 3, right? He doesn't fit. He doesn't fit on a good team. He has no role on a good team because he's not a role player. He's a number 1 option. Like, he needs the ball in his hands to be effective. He's just not a good enough number 1 option to be the number 1 option on a good team. So what's his role on a good team? He doesn't have one unless he's like coming off the bench and leading a bench lineup, or just with so much star power around him that it's still fine somehow. But that's not gonna be the case. So when the Lakers traded for him, I was saying they made a mistake. They should have traded for Buddy Hield. He fit as a role player a lot better. Space the floor more for AD. LeBron doesn't need the ball in his hands. So they screwed up. And all the people that just love big names thought it was great. And me and you were sitting here saying it wasn't a good move for them. It wasn't a good fit. Fit matters. So.
Yeah.
Looking for questions.
Caleb wants to know, who would you trade off the Blazers for a better center, since he hates Nurk?
Oh, just stop worrying about Caleb.
I wouldn't trade anyone, Caleb, because we actually like Nurk and think he's a good center.
We can't trade Nurk right now.
We can't. Well, he's saying I guess Nurk would come off the bench there.
Yeah, no. Well, dude, why are you giving the troll? He's a troll. Why do you give him attention?
He's not a troll.
He literally, Eric, there's no way this isn't a troll. He said, should have traded for Kyrie when they had it. Oh, I thought he was talking about us trading for Kyrie.
No, he's talking about the Lakers. No.
He's a Nurk hater. That's fine. I'm not going to feed him because he's a Nurk hater.
Curtis asks, what's our 1 to 8 seed list for the West? We will actually be doing a stream one of the days between the last preseason game and the first regular season game, where both Tori and I and all our mods will predict our standings for both conferences and also all the award predictions as well.
Yep. That'll be on our second channel, though, Blazers Uprise Live. Subscribe to it. There's a link in the description box. Okay, we have a second streaming channel that we stream twice a week on. But yeah, see, he admitted he's a Nurk hater, Eric. So I'm not worried about his Nurk takes because he's a hater. All right. Bailey Smith, not on board with that at all.
I can't even get on the court. Why would we?
Yeah. Not a Isaac fan at all. Will Dame make the Hall of Fame? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a lock.
Yeah. Pat Bev is better than Westbrook for the Lakers. Probably. Yeah. I mean, that's just weird in itself that Pat Bev is teammates with
Westbrook. It's definitely a good fit. But...
I mean, they should just bring back Rondo, too, and just have all three of those guys. Would you rather have Julius Randle or Westbrook? Julius Randle, I guess, but Julius Randle's another one of those guys that's just like, how does he fit on a good team? Like, what is his role on a really good team? Third option, but he's not a spacer and he needs the ball too, and he's not a good defensive player, so. Eric, do you have any nicknames for Shaedon Sharp?
No, I do not.
Bummer. Is Steve Ballmer a better motivator than most NFL coaches? Did you hear Steve Ballmer's speech?
Dude, that was awesome.
He sounded like he was... Dude, he should be announcing, like, the introductions for fights. Or he should be doing something for the WWE.
My family, like, didn't know who that was or whatever. And they're like, why is this guy just yelling?
That's such
it's just what he does,
thing. Yeah, that was funny. But there's so many, like... high caliber people there tonight, which makes it even more crazy to me that it's not even locally broadcast on the network that includes Seattle.
They're based out of Seattle.
It's just ridiculous, man. We had to go Clippers broadcast. It's just bad, man.
For all the people saying Nurk is overrated, like, no one's saying he's like a star center or anything like that. He's just a solid center. Like, I don't know why it has to be like an overrated or underrated thing.
There's Nurk haters. There's Nurk haters, man. Especially when they say, I'm a proud Nurk hater. That's all I need to hear. Do you think Seattle will be an expansion team or a relocated team? I think expansion in the next 5 years will happen to Seattle and Vegas.
Yeah, most likely around 2025. And yeah, Seattle and Vegas are pretty much locks to be the two teams.
Here's a good question.
And just
go ahead.
Rip City 208 asked, would it dilute the league, you think? I don't think so. I think there's plenty of talent to add 2 more teams.
There's plenty of Antonio Blakeney's and Brandon Williams is out there that'll go somewhere and shoot 20 shots a game on 40%. Oh wait, that's not who you're talking about. Never mind. That's not quality. What was I? Is it more likely for the Suns to implode or be a top 4 seed, Eric?
Man, I'd probably say top 4 seed still, because I mean they virtually have the same team as last year that won 64 games. I don't think, even if they have a bit of a mental breakdown, I think they can still win a lot of games. So I'd say top 4, but honestly, neither one would surprise me.
Yep, I agree. Brandon Roy was there at the game tonight. That was cool.
Calabro was there too, but he couldn't call the game.
I know. Yeah, we'll be live again tomorrow night, so I guess we don't gotta spend too much more time answering questions. Curtis, yeah, I don't know which games, but I'll definitely at least catch a live game this year. Anything else you want to say for this post-game stream, Eric?
Not for the stream, but I just want to once again thank everyone for watching, and welcome to the Blazers Uprise community for another season, and hope to enjoy it with all of you, and thank you so much for your support.
Yep, and stay tuned on this channel for videos. I'm still dropping more videos, so stay tuned. Finishing up the player preview series with Grant, Ant, and Dame. All right. And then I'll have standings predictions of my own as a video series, but then we'll have that stream after the last preseason game where Eric and all our mods will give theirs alongside mine, and we can talk in depth together about certain teams over on the second channel, Blazers Uprise Live. Go subscribe if you want to. Also, you can become a channel member by hitting the join button below. I will have a new video outro that you can have your name in a video if you become a star level channel member or higher. That's everything but starter level. All right. And then had a interview with Travis Demers over on the second channel that we uploaded. So definitely, check that out if you want to. It was just a cool 20-minute interview where we got his thoughts on certain guys. And I think that's pretty much everything. We will have NBA Uprise content as well in the coming week. Eric's putting together some videos, a top 5 series for different topics, so subscribe to NBA Uprise as well. I need to fix the description because I don't have that in the description. Actually, I'll just put it in chat. All right, I'll just put the NBA Uprise link in chat. We're gonna try and do some NBA content as well this season, so go subscribe to the NBA channel. Anything else that I missed?
Mr. Pyan, what's up? Member for 5 months, says good night, y'all. Excited for the season, as are we. And on that note, have a good night, everyone.
Yep, we'll see you later. Have a good rest of your night or morning. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.